Thanks for joining us again, especially those who were able to join us last time on Tuesday. We're actually lucky enough to have a public holiday on Wednesday, which was fantastic for us in Hong Kong to have a nice midweek weekend. So today kind of feels like tomorrow's Friday, which is nice for us as well. We also had a Friday on Tuesday. Anyway, today's a pretty special event. We've got some students here who are going to share a little bit about their coding journeys. So the way this is kind of going to work is I'm going to thread the stories in between and talk a little bit about our school as a whole, Hong Kong International School. And then we're going to have some of our students share a little bit about various parts of their journey. And I've got a couple of students from different parts of the school and talk about how we can start to build up coding initiatives within different schools. So alongside the students, we also have James Abella here again from Garden International School, and he's going to help us with administering the chat and just keeping things flowing as we start to progress with the webinar. Do you want to say hello, James? No, he doesn't want to say hello today. There you go. Have another go.
Oh yeah, I have to unmute, don't I? Yeah, just looking forward to hearing your student stories and hearing the amazing journeys they're having in coding.
Thanks very much, James. So we've got people from all around the place. So we want to try and build a bit of a community along with this. We've got some students in here, and we've also got some fellow teachers as well. Your cameras have actually been turned off. We're going to try and record this. I've got to make sure I get permission from parents of students and things. So some parts might be shared, other parts might not, but I'll try my best to make a recording so that you can relive any of this or share any with colleagues if you find anything interesting. We do have your camera and microphone muted at the moment, but if you'd like to, just send a message to James and he'll be able to turn that off so you can ask any questions when we get to the panel discussion. Until then, you can also ask questions in the chat. James will help surface those as we come along. And then we also have some reactions as well. So if you like what you hear, you want to encourage the students a little bit of about what they're saying. I've asked these students to do this, something that I would never do when I was in high school, but we have some fantastic students here and they're willing to share after school and stay back. So please bear with them. Please encourage them. No poo emojis, just some fire. But if you want me to slow down, if I'm talking a little bit quick for you, always use that turtle, or there is a rabbit or a hare there if you'd like me to speed up a little bit. Also, James has posted in the chat, there is a Padlet. So in this presentations, there are a couple of videos. I've included clips to those in YouTube because sometimes when we're presenting videos over Zoom, they can be a little bit jarring or they don't quite work. So I've included those for you so that you can rewatch them later on if your connection's not quite working. And that'll be there for you within the Padlet. So we'll post that again at the end, but it's also in the chat for you to work through that. I suppose the big part of the message here is a little bit about the impact of teachers. This guy here is not John Hattie, it's actually Trevor Galbraith. He was my high school computer science teacher. He actually retired fairly recently, but before he retired, he actually hired me as the director of IT for a school back in Australia. So we sort of went full circle where he was my teacher and then I took over his job. So the office you can see there in the bottom right where he's sitting with some old MacBooks actually became my office later on, which is pretty cool. But what he really fostered and what I try and foster with my students is to try and create opportunities. I actually just had a student drop in before I started this webinar who's back from college. She just said that she switched her major to computer science and she just managed to get herself an internship at Bloomberg. So those sort of opportunities came from her being able to do things like this, like the students are doing now, presenting to wider audiences, creating projects which are publicly available and sharing their stories a little bit. So I try and I suppose foster what Trevor had taught me and give people opportunities in the same way that he did for me. Also in my classroom as well, the computer science room is always kind of a solitude, a place for me to meet like-minded people who had the same interests in me, and work on projects that I was interested in that may not be the same as mainstream classes. So Trevor kind of created that environment for me. So creating that inclusive environment is something also we're going to discuss a little bit today. I know we've actually got Brett Clark in here who knows who Trevor is. So that's pretty exciting. He's from Perth as well. It's very cool. So there's a little bit of a message here around like our circle of influence. I like to show this at the start of a lot of presentations that I do, because I know I get very frustrated when there's things I can't control or out of my control. So depending on whether, I previously was a director of IT and then I moved to being a classroom teacher. So my circle of influence is sort of expanded, and there's always things I can control and things I can't. Like, for example, students might complain about what time we start school. That's something that I can't control, right? But I can control what happens within my lesson. I can control what I do during the school day, and also my attitudes and my passion towards the subject of computer science. So the things I can control, things I can influence, and as I mentioned before, those opportunities that I can afford my students to try and help them be the best that they can be. And as our sort of circle changes, so too does our ability to influence different people and assert different levels of control as we're moving through. So here I've got a little video. This was filmed a couple of years ago, actually, by one of our graduating seniors. We had a lot of sort of turmoil within our computer science courses. There was quite low enrollments. They weren't engaging students in quite the way we thought. And we had a bit of an upturn. So we shot this video to try and investigate that a little bit.
The demand for computer science at the HKS High School is increasing dramatically. In the last 2 years alone, we've seen a 220% increase in students taking coding classes, as well as a 30% increase in female coders. We wanted to find out what made computer science so enticing to students, so who better to ask than the students themselves?
Hey. Hi.
Hello. What's your name and what grade are you in?
I'm Christine and I'm a sophomore.
My name is Chloe and I'm a senior.
Kiara Jong and I'm a senior this year.
Robbie Morris and I'm in grade 12.
Vikram Krishna and I'm in grade 12.
What grade did you start coding?
I believe I started coding in 6th grade.
Junior year.
When I was maybe in upper primary.
Are you taking any coding courses currently?
I am. I'm actually taking AP Computer Science.
Yeah, so this year I'm taking AP Computer Science Principles.
I am not, but I took AP CSA last year and I found that very engaging.
I'm currently taking Advanced Computer Science Studio.
Not as a student, no. So right now I'm a teaching assistant for Advanced Computer Science Studio.
What was your first coding experience and was it positive or negative?
Oh, I wanted to learn how to create a website.
My first coding experience was an elective in middle school using Scratch.
A Scratch program where we had to make the cat like rotate like 4 times or something like that.
And it was very negative.
I remember being really frustrated because it wouldn't do what I said, even though it was just blocks.
Tell me about the coolest project you've created.
Probably one of the most exciting things is that I'm starting to develop my own website. Obviously it's like not done yet, but I think that's pretty exciting.
I created a facial recognition software
to identify like a piece of trash and how it should be recycled.
Over the summer, I developed a computer vision model which classified photos of skin cancer as benign or malignant.
What experience has coding led you to?
So over the summer, I did an internship at a healthcare firm.
And then it also led to a 3rd internship that I did last summer with an indoor air quality company where we're working with the government. That has now turned into a part-time job that I do alongside school. But yeah, I'd say coding has helped out quite a lot.
Has coding made you appreciate other subjects more, like math, science, or arts?
Yeah, for sure. Oftentimes we don't really appreciate the design and the work that goes into a lot of the stuff that we use.
Using coding for like computation and math and physics has been especially fun.
Do you wish you had started coding earlier or younger?
Yes, yes, I wish.
As you do more of it and as you practice it more, it's definitely something that builds over time. So I do wish I had started it maybe a little bit earlier.
What advice would you give to your younger self regarding coding?
Don't be afraid to try, because I remember hearing that coding was like something just for STEM kids or kids who are interested in math and science, and that's totally not true.
The whole sort of tinkering mindset that has been cultivated throughout my time at HKIS, like if I had applied that more consistently to coding from a younger age, it would have been more fruitful.
Thanks so much, Christine.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you guys so much.
Thank you, Chloe.
So I like that video for a couple of reasons. First of all, because it embarrasses Christine, but also has Lauren's sister in there as well, who you're going to meet later on. But it's really good to capture those kind of snapshots of where we were and where we're sort of heading, and how our programs have developed. As we design our curriculum, I've mentioned in previous presentations and also on Tuesday, we're an American school, so we have American style education. As you heard in that presentation, we have AP exams, but we also get to design some really cool courses or programs that align with standards. And if you've ever done standards-based assessment, it allows a lot of flexibility in how we assess and the kind of activities that we do within our classroom. So I think you'll sort of see that within the lessons. We also really focus on what we call soft skills or essential skills, really, which go along with those core academic skills. So creativity, collaboration are a big part of everything that we do within the school to try and make sure that we build holistic goals for our students. A lot of our conversations around our courses tend to fall on, like, when should we start teaching coding? And you heard the reflection there from the students saying, well, when should we start coding? And the reflection from all students seems to be when we start is very important, but it's also, I would have liked to start earlier. So when I've taught primary as well as secondary, often I was teaching grade 4s about loops, and I was also teaching grade 9s about loops. And it depended on the age that they actually started coding and also their literacy level on when we could start to introduce. So while some schools are in different situations, it's really giving those students the opportunity to learn how to code earlier. And I know Christine will reflect on this later on about without being given that opportunity, it's not something she would have realized that she was interested in. And we're not trying to say that every kid wants to be a developer. Perhaps they want to be something else, but it's a fundamental skill or a fundamental literacy that I think ongoing will be very, very important. So our first speaker for today is Rexan. Rexan's going to share a little bit about his story and how he started coding. So without further ado, I'll let you unmute yourself, Rexan. You can start speaking.
All right. Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Rexan. I'm currently grade 11 at Hong Kong International School, and I'm going to be sharing a bit about my coding journey and how I started. So next slide, please. All right. So I think my coding journey began in 2021. So 2021 is 3 years ago when I was in grade 9. And originally, I didn't really have coding in my plans. I just had a free block, so like a free class. So I asked my counselor to add a class called Coding in Action because my friends were taking it. And I just didn't want a free block, so I just did Coding in Action, I guess, just for fun. So that was back in 2021. And then in the class, I really enjoyed the class. It was taught by the one and only Mr. Bud, and we learned Swift and app development. In the end, I managed to create like some app with Swift UI that has a lot of great UI components. Like it even has login with password. If you scroll a bit to the middle, you can see like there's an Instagram like UI, a feed, basically a lot of functionality that you can use with Swift UI. So I really enjoyed that, and that was like one of my first encounters with coding. Next slide, please. So then after the class ended, I got more interest in coding because I really figured out what I wanted to build. So around that time, in 2022, I was participating in Web3 blockchain hackathon. It's like a different field of coding, and it was a business hackathon. So somehow, out of being the only 14-year-old, being the only under 18 in the competition in the business hackathon, I managed to win the best business idea award from that hackathon. And that was presented from the Hong Kong Digital Asset Society. So what I really wanted to do was I wanted to build blockchain and Web3 applications because I didn't know how to code like blockchain and Web3 applications back then, but I did have some exposure from Mr. Bud's class. So next slide, please. And what I did is I just went on YouTube. I searched up many tutorials on how to build blockchain and web apps. And I thought I watched a lot of YouTube tutorials. These tutorials were like 6 hours long. And I think YouTube is a great way to learn coding, to like build up the self-learning capability to learn coding. And as you can see in the photo on the right, that was me in 2022, like anywhere. Even with like my grandpa, I was like learning how to code. So I was like really interested and really passionate. And I guess it all stemmed from Mr. Butt's class. Next slide, please. Yeah, so eventually, after following a lot of tutorials and trying to build projects from those tutorials, Mr. Butt suggested that I sign up for the Apple Swift Student Challenge 2023. So if you guys didn't know, the Swift Student Challenge is basically a hackathon hosted by Apple for secondary school students. And what you got to do is that you need to build an app and and this app will be shown to the Apple judges. And if the Apple judges like your app in terms of like the technical aspect or like the creativity, then you get a shout out from Apple and you win a scholarship from their challenge. And somehow I just built this pretty simple app called Photo Rush. Basically what it does is it generates a random word, and then you need to scroll through your entire photo album to try to find that word. And if that photo matches the word, it uses machine learning to validate that it does, and then you like get some points. So I just built this really simple app, and somehow it won the Apple Swift Student Challenge. That was back in 2023, and I got some merch as well. So thank you very much, Apple. Like free hoodies, free AirPods, and like some cards from Apple. So that was very nice. Next slide, please. So after the success in the Apple Swift Student Challenge, I got even more motivation, even more passion to keep coding and like keep building new stuff. So in the summer of 2023 last year, me and my dad, we traveled to Waterloo in Canada to compete in the ETH Global Hackathon. So if you guys don't know what the ETH Global Hackathon is, it's basically a blockchain hackathon, which is hosted by one of the biggest blockchain events company, ETH Global. And this hackathon attracted, can you go to the next slide? Yeah, so this hackathon attracted like, I think 2,000 hackers and 500 teams. So over here in this hackathon, we had to build blockchain apps. And I partnered with some students from the University of Waterloo. So we built this blockchain app called Redeer. I won't go too much into details, but essentially it's requires a lot of coding. It required us to keep coding for 24 hours without any sleeping. And it was a great experience. And in the end, we came home with 2 prizes from the ETH Global Waterloo Hackathon. And I think throughout this entire experience, going overseas to do hackathons, to compete in coding related events, just keep feeling my passion for coding. And with this passion, I was also more inclined to try to explore much difficult concepts in coding. Because like before, I was just building blockchain apps and web apps and stuff like that. But there's this thing called like zero knowledge proofs, and it's like really complicated with math and stuff like that, which I'm not so good at. But I wanted to see how I can build some kind of application using this thing called zero knowledge proofs. And essentially I built a project called CK Protest, so zero knowledge protest, which basically allows people to protest in an anonymous way. And then I competed this in a hackathon hosted by Mina Protocol and Developer DAO, so 2 big blockchain companies. And I also won first place from this hackathon as well. So I was like the only under 18 competing against like people with 30 years of experience with like PhDs in cryptography, and that was really special. So in the end, I joined this hackathon called ETH Global Online, hosted by the same like organization, ETH Global, and they were hosting their online hackathon, which is the biggest blockchain hackathon in the entire 2023. As you can see, there are many partners, and in the total, they offered $225,000 available in prizes. So it's pretty big deal. And for this hackathon, next slide, please. Yeah, so there's 2,005 hackers from all around the world joining this hackathon. Next slide. yeah, and 515 projects, so 515 submissions to the hackathon, including mine. Next slide. So while I was building this project, I was in China. So you can imagine like no YouTube, no ChatGPT. So it's like really hard to code in China. But eventually, I just like spent a lot of time coding a project for this hackathon. Like I was on the bus and I was like on my phone, just keep trying to build something for this hackathon. Next slide, please. And then I managed to create this npm library, so like a code library called Koinu. And what it does is that it facilitates cross-chain transactions, so allows you to easily send crypto from one blockchain to another. And yeah, over here on the right, here's like an image of the project. Next slide. And then I remember I was in English class at school, and I got this email from the CEO of ETH Global, and turns out I was a finalist for the hackathon. So being a finalist means that you basically won the hackathon. So I was really shocked. I was really happy at the same time, and I managed to have the opportunity to present in front of the entire audience for the ETH Global Online as one of the finalists. And I was presenting my projects in front of the big crowd in front of ETH Global with the CEO of ETH Global. It's the same guy on like the slide, which they said 2005 hackers. So right now, currently what I'm building is I'm building VideoFast. So this is my first startup that I'm going to launch very, very soon. Basically, VideoFast is a very easy to use video editor that is tailored for beginners. So if any of you guys want to learn how to do video editing, but you guys find that it's super hard to learn because of the complexity of traditional video editors like DaVinci Resolve or Premiere Pro, feel free to check out VideoFast. I have the site ready, it's hosted. Only the landing page is not ready yet, but I have a working product. If you go to this link, you can check out this product. And next slide. Wait, I think we're missing some slides. Can you go back?
Sorry, I think that's all we've got for you.
Oh, I see. So basically, I'm promoting this product on Twitter, and I'm basically yeah, just promoting this product on Twitter. I also applied for Y Combinator, which is the like largest startup accelerator. I don't think I'll get in, but with coding, it just taught me to always just try new stuff, just keep building stuff and see where it takes you. I don't think there's like a definite path that you can take with coding. Just build what you want to build and see where that takes you. So without further ado, thank you very much for listening to my presentation. I hope you guys learned a couple of things from my presentation. If you guys want to learn more about me, I'm gonna put my website down in the chat below. I don't know why the slides are not here. Maybe I accidentally deleted it, but I'm gonna put the link to my website in the chat below. And thank you very much for listening to my presentation.
Thanks very much, Rexan. Sorry about that with the slides. We last minute added all the slides into one deck, so I might have missed something out there. But yeah, as Rexan mentioned, we'll share all this information and also postings of the Padlet as well, so you can check out some of these projects a little bit closer. Also, remember, you can always ask questions inside the chat as well. We will have a panel at the end of the student presentation, so we can ask questions about the progress or a little bit more, hear a little bit more about their processes as well. So as Rexan mentioned, his first course that we experienced he had his experience in was coding in action. A lot of that content in coding in action, which Rexan may not be aware of, is actually modeled off the Everyone Can Code materials that Apple produce. So this is a good place for any teachers in the room who are looking to develop their courses. It's a good place for you to start. There's some solid tutorials, some good projects, and good sort of theory in there to help you guide your students in the right direction. But a lot of what we did with Rexan, obviously you heard a lot of all the work he did. It wasn't things that I did. I just gave him the fundamentals, and then through the structures within our school, he had that freedom then to play and to find his passion. So often we sort of think of these courses in this sequential kind of order. A lot of the schools that I've worked in previously, including this one, we have that engineering pathway and we have that computer science pathway. And it looks different in different places. I suppose what's unique from what we do here at HKS and a lot of American schools is that we have mixed grade groups. So what that means is, as a student, they could be a freshman, they could be a grade 9 student, and they could be in the same class with grade 12s. So it's kind of where the students are at in terms of their ability, not based on their age, which is quite unique. So it allows some of our students to accelerate quite quickly, like as you saw in the case with Rexan. And we also have some other things like TA programs, which I'll talk about in a little bit.
One thing I will say, Mr. Budd, is that it's not unique to the American system. We're also starting to do some mixed age things, particularly on our CCAs and electives. But our GCSEs and A-levels are age related, so it doesn't have to be American to have mixed age. And I think it is powerful because the students really enjoy learning from the older kids and stuff like that as well.
It's definitely important to get that mentorship piece in place. The other thing we try to do in that course, that Coding in Action, is to try and build a bit of this this startup culture. The students design and pitch an idea, so it's not so much about the learning to code as much as familiarization with the technology and building something that's marketable. So they do a bit of market research, build a product with that business kind of mindset in place. And this is a slide that I've borrowed from James Abella. It's looking at different ways that we can interact. You heard as Rexan was talking about how he didn't find that his mathematics was very strong, but he certainly found a strong way to apply mathematics within computer science. So when we're thinking about coding, some of these initiatives don't have to be within a computer science program. Our courses are actually embedded into the arts department, which is quite unique. But they could be in mathematics, they could be in science, they could be in a space where you might least expect it, like art. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Christine. Christine's actually going to share her own slides so she doesn't have my mistakes. So I will stop sharing, Christine, and I'll let you take over.
Amazing. I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about my journey through coding and computer science and where it's been able to lead me. So my journey, as you heard in the video, started with Scratch. So I think contrary to quite a few people, I actually had a really negative experience for my first experience with coding. I had to basically do exactly this. I was in maybe 4th grade, if that, where I was asked to make this sprite basically rotate in a square. And for me, I just didn't like it because I felt that it just seemed very useless. Like I was like, why is this cat just walking around in a square? And why is it so hard to make it do that? So it was that kind of problem solving aspect that became really difficult for me to kind of understand. And even though I had this negative experience, I think as I grew older a little bit, I matured a little more. I became a little more interested in kind of logical analysis and problem solving skills. I decided to give coding another shot. So that brings me to kind of my second step, which was my first proper coding class that I've ever taken, which was in my freshman year of high school, which was mobile app development, which I took with Mr. Budd. And this, my first coding class, really intrigued me and opened my eyes and kind of showed me what coding and computer science truly was. So this class, we developed a bunch of apps. And what I liked about it and what it showed me about coding was that it's actually a very real and applicable skill. More than anything, rather than a topic, for me, at least personally, I think that computer science and knowing how to code is more of a skill, because what it is for me is the ability to use it as a medium to apply it to so many other things. So in this class specifically, I was able to develop things like a weather app, or like this project on the left over here, which was my final project for the class, which was a trash image identifier app. And while it wasn't necessarily the best one, I think I maybe had an accuracy of like 60%. It was something that I could see show like what coding had the opportunity to do. And that thing that I didn't like earlier with Scratch when I was younger, of problem solving and going through the debugging process and understanding why my code wasn't working, actually became something, sorry about that, was really interesting to me. And it was the fact that I could link it to all of my other interests and my other ideas that really intrigued me about coding. So that kind of led me to exploring coding in more deeper ways or through more advanced classes. And being at HKIS, I was able to have the resources and opportunities to do those things. So I took a bunch more advanced classes, for example, AP Computer Science Principles, AP Computer Science A, as well as Advanced Computer Science Studio. And all three of these classes, I think, really helped solidify everything that intrigued me initially when I took mobile app development. So not only did I actually learn a lot more knowledge and actual like content, I was able to do it in different languages like Java, Python, Swift, all of these different things. And I was able to apply it to such a vast range of different projects that I wanted to look at. So in Advanced Computer Science Studio last year, I was able to create really cool projects like an ASL sign language model, or like an identifier, which has a ton of applicability, or understand the different factors using machine learning of what makes a gold medalist as an Olympic athlete. And I was able to publish this on like Kaggle and get feedback from my classmates and from people online. And it was something that really helped me understand how, just how like the infinite range of possibilities that computer science can be applied to and can help you understand. And so while I found that application more interesting, I think through taking these more advanced classes, I understood that it was necessary, and also just really important to understand the logic and the code behind whatever findings I was doing to be able to truly interpret it, and understand it. So that kind of led me to where I am today and my philosophy with coding, as well as how that led to a bunch of outside opportunities, where I want to act as an intersection between computer science and my other interests. So because I'm able to understand the code and understand the way that the code works, I'm able to then kind of help communicate and apply that to all of these new situations. And it was that skill that I think my coding journey helped to develop that led me to so many cool opportunities. For example, being able to speak at the University of Pennsylvania at a Women in Data Science conference, where I could present on my research, on my findings, on analyzing trends in US gas prices and all of the different factors that affected it, as well as creating things like a Data Science for Girls program, where I could kind of help give other people what HKIS gave to me, which is the exposure to coding, that really piqued my interest. And I think it was able to be such a cool program to share something that I love. So looking forward onto my next step, basically, I'm really excited to say that I'm going to the University of Pennsylvania next fall to study statistics and data science. And I'm hoping to also get a minor in either artificial intelligence or computer science, something along those lines. And I think what my journey in coding has brought me to is understanding that while I may not be someone like Rexan, who's going to go into a more like technical job or be more of like a software engineer or really be super good at that coding aspect, what I can do is with the background and the understanding of that coding, I can act as the intersection or the translator between coders and non-coders to really just work on projects together and make change in industries that matter to me and I think matter to everyone else, which is something I'm really excited about. So yeah, that's my journey in coding. I think what I was able to take from it and what I'm going to move forward with is just this understanding of coding is a really unique thing, but being able to just be exposed to it and learn from it, I think is an invaluable skill.
Thank you very much, Christine.
Yeah, let me give you back the screen share.
Oh, I did have Christine's slides in there, so I'll skip ahead. There we go. So a lot of what Christine was able to achieve, as you saw, again, same with Rexan, she just started off with those fundamentals. But some of the things that we put in place, and you saw in those videos before about students having opportunities to become TAs, to do internships, those things are kind of built into our structures a little bit. Rexan had some free periods, which afforded him the opportunity to have some choice or to try something new. We also asked students who have completed some of our courses to a high level to come back as like student TAs. So there's a couple of advantages of that. Of course, as a teacher, it helps us. I know Mr. Nolan's in the room at the moment, but it allows us to throw technology at some students, let them try and figure some things out, think a little bit more deeply about how we actually teach people and how we interact with people. I think you've all met a lot of computer science students who don't have those social skills or aren't quite able to articulate themselves as well as Christine is. So trying to foster those sort of, as I mentioned, essential skills or soft skills as they're often called. How do we create a space where students can actually play? And of course, that entrepreneurship mindset. So trying to make sure that students have not only those technical skills, but figure out a way to apply that. And in the next presentation, we're going to speak a little bit more about that and how we create those inclusive environments with a different kind of subset, which is our engineering subset within Vex Robotics. So I've got a little video to share with you quickly, which will prime us a little bit for Vivian and Lauren to share their stories.
Hi, I'm Vivian.
I'm Lauren.
I'm Lily.
I'm Jasmine.
Hey guys, I'm Kate. And we're the girls on the 936A robotics team.
But who exactly are we?
We are a group of students who come together to share passions for engineering in a collaborative and diverse environment.
Members are placed into one of 4 categories: senior engineer, junior engineer, senior coder, and junior coder. The system allows for the seniors to mentor the juniors and run development classes. But in our team, members are also interdisciplinary. After joining the club, they've gained experience in all realms of building, coding, driving, and computing.
The system has allowed us to maintain a diverse community. Because every member has critical ideas on how to approach challenges, diversity in perspective means that we're able to select the best out of everyone's ideas to make an amazing final product. But even in our team chemistry, having a diverse group of people means that we're able to open doors and learn about each other's favorite Vex background music, cultural snacks, and so much more.
We'd be able to create this environment through 2 main ways. 1, making robotics less cutthroat and more like a family.
Instead of working towards an outcome, we treat engineering like a process, where we're constantly building on and learning from each other's ideas.
2, attracting more females and helping meet your female role models and leaders that they can look up to. But why do we here at HIS prioritize being girl powered?
We prioritize this because at our competitions, we always notice an absence of females and a lack of support for girls in these environments.
How many females do you have on your team?
1 female. We used to have a few, but then they left.
0.
In order to create an inclusive girl-powered environment, we have a female middle school mentorship program to ensure that girls have support in what can be typically seen as a male-oriented environment. We also support women being in positions of power, whether that's me being the team leader or Lauren being a senior engineer.
Throughout our work, being girl-powered means to speak up and to not be afraid of making mistakes. We make sure that our voices are always heard. Secondly, we make sure to advocate against things like sexism and microaggressions. Whether it's a lack of respect in females in leadership position or males at competitions making very sexist comments, we make sure to speak up and educate them, so hopefully this way we make the STEM field a more encouraging and welcoming place for women to join. Our role model is Mary Jackson from NASA. We chose her not only for her intellectual achievements, but also for her work as a Federal Women's Program Manager. She inspires us by her efforts to create opportunities and support for those women who are constantly mistreated and whose ideas are ignored.
We hope that in the future we can also become role models for other girls navigating STEM fields. We hope to empower all women and show them that anything is possible.
So Lauren and Vivian are going to share a little bit more about the story and the structure. But one of the things which I always advocate for is to ensure that we have through roads for this technology. So we're not teaching a framework or a platform, and have a little bit of confidence with our students as they move through. So we now have Vex Robotics all the way from the R1 or registration, kindergarten basically, to grade 12. So we have those opportunities all the way through for a little bit of familiarity or I suppose digital confidence within a particular platform. So whilst there are different languages, and perhaps in junior we might want to do a little bit of that block-based or Scratch kind of programming, and then we'll move into scripted-based programming, we can keep that same platform, that same competitions. And the other thing that I really love about this platform is also those competitions. And as they mentioned in that video, trying to make it a bit more of a community, a bit more like a sport, and as a family, as Lauren and Vivian mentioned in that video. So without that, I will pass over to Lauren and Vivian.
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Vivian and I'm a current junior at Hong Kong International School. I've been doing robotics for about 6 years now, and I also love dance and service.
I'm Lauren. I'm also a junior at HKIS. So like Vivian, I'm really passionate about robotics, and I joined the robotics club 3 years ago as a freshman in high school. Outside of robotics, I love hiking, going to the beach, and reading.
So Lauren and I are both past leaders of the robotics club and now serve as mentors to incoming leaders. Our club's mission is to help students explore the world of competitive robotics through learning about engineering, design, and programming principles while developing collaboration, organization, and leadership skills. Our robotics club is split into 3 teams, consisting of middle school and high school members alike. Through our club, we spend a majority of our school year completing a robotics build to compete at local Hong Kong and Asia competitions. The robotics platform we compete in is called VEX V5, which combines the worlds of mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, pneumatics, computer science, and more.
So today we'll be going through how we cultivate STEM opportunities at school, how we use these opportunities to motivate women as well as set them up for leadership, and how we're able to ultimately foster more inclusive environments. So how exactly do we cultivate these STEM opportunities at school, and what do these opportunities actually even look like? So at HKIS, we're really grateful to be given many opportunities, and with our access to passionate faculty and resources, we've been able to cultivate many STEM opportunities, specifically in robotics. So we've always been part of a student body that's been really passionate about robotics and engineering. However, the pandemic took a really hard hit on the robotics club, and with the lockdown and social distancing guidelines during the pandemic, member engagement within the club decreased significantly. So we noticed that the skill gap between newer and more experienced members in the team also increased, since newer members were unable to go into the lab to gain practical experiences by actually building the robot, and our mentorship program with older members and newer members also kind of fell apart. Since the pandemic, Vivian and I have worked really hard to build the robotics club back up and to also restructure it. So some of the ways that we've restructured the club is to firstly increase member engagement. Vivian and I have tried to cultivate more robotics opportunities that are available to the wider student body. We advertise the robotics club during school events like Club Marketplace, as well as during world fairs, so that more students are aware of the club. Secondly, we also expanded our robotics club to include a middle school division like Mr. Budd talked about. We noticed that a lot of middle school students were really passionate about robotics but didn't have the avenue to explore that passion. As a result, we created a development team focused on allowing middle school students to participate in the club alongside high schoolers. We also opened up these opportunities to individuals outside of HKIS. So recently, we partnered with the Ambassador Board to run a robotics session where club members were able to share their passion and expertise for robotics with underprivileged non-Chinese speaking students from the Integrated Brilliant Education System through using Lego We Do kits. Finally, we shifted the club culture away from very purely technical skill and towards mentorship and learning. To make STEM opportunities more welcoming, we tried to lower the barrier of entry by making sure that interested members knew that as long as they had the passion for robotics, we would help them cultivate the skill they needed to succeed. And we also set up different senior roles for more experienced members and assigned them to new members so that they could mentor each other one-on-one.
So how do we create a safe and inclusive environment? Within all these STEM initiatives, we've noticed some issues surrounding club environments, especially in dealing with sexism in these fields. Although our school makes some of the best efforts we've seen in creating healthy environments, we still face issues in the robotics club. Some issues we've encountered are how males in the club naturally bond together, which frequently leaves females excluded, and male leaders giving more attention to male club members, how it's harder for females to win the respect of males in regard to intellectual capability, and the occasional occurrences of derogatory or inappropriate remarks. However, these are issues that penetrate all areas of the STEM field, and I noticed this a lot more frequently when I was competing for robotics independently in middle school. At these competitions, my friend and I were usually the only all-girl team, and we found that males frequently doubted our abilities and were surprised at our performance. One memory I have is when my team qualified for the VexIQ World Championships a few years ago. The other two teams representing Hong Kong along with us made some derogatory comments because they were upset that an all-girl team qualified along with them. Because of experiences like these, once Lauren and I joined the high school team, we wanted to make sure that we were doing everything we could to foster an inclusive environment. Two ways we've done that this year is by speaking out and setting expectations, and both of these come with mentoring our incoming leaders to fulfill these duties. For example, we've set clear expectations that sexist remarks shouldn't be present in our lab space, and have also given reminders and warnings when we've seen inappropriate messages in group chats. Even in people's environmental mannerisms, we try to give reminders when we feel that females aren't being heard or their ideas aren't being represented. Throughout this year, we've witnessed a lot of growth both in our members and leaders, with being more aware of fostering this kind of positive environment within our club. However, true change doesn't always come from enforcing rules and policing, but making actual bonds and connections between our teams. For example, in our team placement, we made sure that females were split across all 3 teams, which gave them the opportunity to bond more with other male members. In addition, we also made the structural work of engineering a community-based experience by getting meals together, playing music, and overall having fun while engineering. We also found that we bonded a lot over school trips, like during our trip to Shanghai. Being in a foreign country together and having new experiences like trying new foods and going to interesting landmarks really helped bring us closer as a team, males and females alike. During the trip, we always tried to make sure that the girls all stayed together or were all involved, as we didn't want them to feel like a minority on the trip.
Another way that we've tried to empower women in STEM is through our leadership selection process. But what exactly do these leadership opportunities even look like? So every year, our leadership team consists of both males and females. In the past 2 years, Vivian and I have been grateful to be part of the leadership team and to be able to help lead the robotics club. Having a female on the leadership team is important. It ensures diversity and perspective in that our leadership team accurately reflects the gender diversity in our club. It also allows our female members to feel like they belong, that they have a seat at the table, and that they feel more comfortable in voicing their concerns. It brings in discussions on things like gender equality, as well as culture within the club, and what steps we can take in the future to continue to empower women. This also helps our younger female members have a role model to look up to. When Vivian and I were both freshmen on the team, we both looked up to female members on the club team and club leadership, and we were able to admire their technical knowledge as well as their ability to stand their ground in such a male-dominated field.
Lastly, how do we motivate girls in STEM, and how have we tried to get more girls involved? One way we've done this is through getting involved with the opportunities that Vex Robotics themselves offer. I'm so grateful that I was first introduced to Vex Robotics at a Girl Scout event when I was in middle school, which completely kickstarted my passion for robotics. After joining the high school team, I've tried to continue participating in these girl-powered opportunities, especially through the Vex Girl-Powered competition. Our video, which was played earlier, was our submission this year, which allowed us to place as one of 5 finalists worldwide for the past 2 years. We found it to be such a great opportunity because we get to celebrate everything our diverse team has done to be girl-powered, but it also helps us girls ourselves learn more about what being girl-powered really means. We had so much fun filming this video throughout our competitions in Hong Kong and Shanghai, and having a common project for all of us to work on together. Our faculty advisors also support us by offering us new opportunities they've seen, like getting more girls, even outside the team, involved in the Girls Who Code competition and other opportunities. Another way we've done this is through increasing representation of female members. When I first joined the club, Lauren and I were some of the only girls. Throughout the year, we've been able to double the number of girls in our club by reaching out personally to friends or other individuals we know that are passionate about robotics. Even during events like Club Marketplace, where we first introduce all of our clubs to our school, we make sure to talk to as many females as possible. Lastly, another way we motivate girls in STEM is by making sure they always feel supported, especially by working with our faculty advisors who are always working to improve our club environment. For example, we've had a couple meetings throughout the year where we've met with just the girls in our club and our faculty to discuss some challenges we faced. We feel that all of our efforts thus far have helped increase female representation and involvement in the club, which is a trend we hope to continue.
Vivian and I both really love robotics. Since starting our journey in high school while navigating how to pursue our passion in STEM, we faced a lot of challenges and barriers because of our gender. In the past 3 years, we've made leaps and bounds in changing the culture and structure of different STEM initiatives that we're part of, and we hope to continue making a lasting impact by empowering everyone around us.
Thanks very much, girls. That was awesome. I think it's something that I'm quite passionate about. I know Mr. Nolan is as well. My daughter's now just started R1, and I hope that by the time she gets into high school, there'll be a safe and inclusive place for her within the school. There's a couple of unique things you might have heard there. First of all, how much the students lead these initiatives. The way that the club structure works at our school is that they're student developed clubs. So in order for a club to exist, a student must first advocate for it and create the club. And then they find a faculty advisor to help support them. But the students run all the meetings. They're the ones that find out where the competitions are. They're the ones that request funding, do stock take, find all the materials. They're the ones who have to clean up the lab when it gets messy and all those kind of things as well. So it's quite unique, quite different from what I've been doing in previous schools in this kind of way. And you also heard a little bit talking about that club structure and the way that we have these different leaders. So we've now sort of changed our structure a little bit, but we have our team leaders. We now have a middle school team, which is pretty cool because we can foster those relationships from a younger age, and we don't have to lose them within 4 years. We have those individual team leaders, but then we have some higher up club leaders, as Vivian was kind of reflecting on then. And we now have this new marketing head as well. And that's about creating more opportunities for students who are maybe interested in STEM, but like Christine was saying, may not be sort of the coding type or the ones who want to get on the power tools, but still interested or still want to be a part of our community. And the last thing I think you would have heard there was that piece around ownership and agency, giving students the pride in what they're doing, because this is their club, their family, their friends. They want to have a good time. They want to have, pizza parties and hang out till midnight building robots. They want to have that confidence and feel like they're good at something, and that agency to feel like they can make decisions, that they can impact the culture and really build it up. So good work on all you've been doing with robotics. It's fantastic, especially after the pandemic when it felt like the club was dying because we had our students building, sort of two of them in an apartment in Hong Kong. To actually bringing it back, it's nice to hear like they're down there now at the moment actually building. They've got the music going, they're having a good time and hanging out with like-minded people, and that's what school's all about. So with that, we've got a little bit of time left. So if you do have any questions about any of these programs or any of the presentations that you have seen, please do ask some questions. Our students are still online and they're available to answer your questions as they come up. James, have you had any questions in the chat so far?
Not so far. People are very pleased with what the students have done, but I think the stories have been fantastic, clear, and really inspiring. One thing I did mention is we also have Girls in Code Southeast Asia, which is being run out of Malaysia. So girls everywhere are doing it. And our courses are now 50-50 male-female. So that's in large part thanks to courageous girls starting it off and setting out and giving it a go. And I think that's all it takes.
Yeah, I mean, Vivian will probably tell me off for this saying this, but I've found through teaching that girls tend to hunt in packs. So if you can get a friendship group or a group of girls together, I think that's where the power really comes, where they start to feel that confidence and feel like it is a safe place for them. I think we've really started to foster that. Rex and I had a question. Oh, sorry, we just had one come through from Jalpa before I asked my question. Oh, she's just saying that she needs to step out.
That's it. Okay.
Rexan, I was going to ask you when you started to look into that blockchain coding, how did you find transitioning to a different language when your first kind of initial experience was Swift?
Oh yeah, that's a great question. So yeah, my first language was Swift, and to do blockchain, it requires like mainly two languages like JavaScript and a different language called Solidity. So when I started learning blockchain, I found like a lot of parallels between Swift and JavaScript. But then Solidity was like a whole new circus. It was like a different syntax. It was like uh, completely different from Swift. So uh, I found it like kind of easy to adapt from Swift to JavaScript, but when coding in Solidity, it requires like new knowledge to learn the Solidity. Uh, I would suggest like in terms of choosing languages based on what to learn, don't really think about like is this language pretty similar to what I learned in the past? I think just think about what you want to build, and then once you decide what you want to build, you just find all the technologies that you can use to build whatever you want to build, and you learn those technologies. That will help you get very passionate about what you want to learn, and that will also help you learn faster, like a whole new concept. For example, building blockchain. I
So,
want to build.
you think more sort of find something you're passionate about, and then like a project you want to build, and then learn what you need to build that.
Yeah, I would suggest that.
Oh, cool. I suppose that's a different approach from what we normally do within schools, which is fantastic. Christine, I had a question for you. I was actually surprised. I thought you were only going to do statistics in university, so I'm glad to hear that you're going to try and do a bit of a double major there, which you probably would have been pushed into anyway, doing any sort of mathematics in university these days. But when did you sort of realize that you could have a bit more of an impact in that crossroads between the coders and the non-coders? How did you sort of come to that realization?
Yeah, I'm someone who has a lot of different interests. So besides doing like coding and all of that stuff and doing those in classes and taking, all the honors maths and things like that, I do a lot of like public speaking and debate as well. So for me, it was really interesting to kind of see where that middle ground could be. And what I kind of understood was what I ultimately enjoyed between something like debate and something like coding was kind of the logical processes of solving a problem. Like in debate, you have to analyze something, and in coding, you have to essentially do the same thing with logic. So for me, it was finding that intersection in data science mostly, but also just computer science in general, was my solution to finding a way of combining all of my interests into one.
Yeah, I think one of the, which is going to lead to my next question, I think one of the most complicated things to try and figure out or figure the logic out is people. I think people are some of the most complicated people to, things to manage, to motivate. So hopefully you find that path and really help for advocating for people to explore technology. So Vivian and Lauren, how have you found that in terms of a student being able to advocate almost as an adult, or having authority when you don't really have any? How has that journey been?
I mean, I think something really great about the way our club runs is that our leaders have a lot of power and influence. I mean, not in the way that we're like dictators over our club, but we communicate so much with our club members that our members a lot of the time are really willing to share their opinions with us. And because sometimes it can be a little bit intimidating for, let's say, a new freshman member to go up and talk to a faculty advisor about the issues they're facing, I think one way we've been able to achieve that is that we're able to have such a close connection and bond with our team that it's really easy for us leaders who may be more mature and more comfortable to advocate for these things with our faculty advisor and really be able to enact change in the club.
So adding on to what Vivian said, obviously when it comes to looking at the lens of this through empowering other girls, I think that, as Vivian mentioned, having student as club leaders and being that median in terms of like regular club members speaking with faculty advisors, I think having a female leader who's also a student makes it also easier for younger girls in middle school or in like grade 9 or 10 to reach out to these female leaders who can then advocate on the struggles that maybe they're facing in a pretty male-dominated club, to speak to faculty advisors. So that's also a benefit of having, I think, students be able to act as leaders of a club.
That's awesome. That's good hints. Brett Clark was actually just commenting in the chat that he's managed to get about 40 to 43% girls, which is probably a little bit higher than we're doing this year, which is fantastic. It's pretty good work. But yeah, I think we do sort of see that snowball effect as you guys have started advocating and pushing some of these female leaders to put their name forward. I think as well. We just went through that leadership process within the club, and we try to encourage everyone to put their name forward, because I think that's another thing with some of our female students is that they think it's not for them, or if they think, oh look, Rexan's such a good coder, he's surely going to get it, and they don't realize like the skills that are actually needed for leadership. We sort of hold highly this idea of a good leader is the smartest person in the room. That's not always the case. It's the person with the most emotional intelligence, I suppose EQ over IQ, and thinking about the people and building a community rather than actually the person who can solve the equation the quickest.
And I will say, this isn't just girls, but our digital leaders this year entirely female led, and that was eligible to both genders.
Rexan just said without ChatGPT and Stack Overflow, he's one of the worst coders.
But that's the trick, right? That ability to research and go out there and give it a go, and confidence. And yeah, that's it, Rexan. You got it.
Like
we've all been
using like the tools that you have at your disposal, like using it to your fullest.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, 100%. And that's we did a little talk. You weren't able to make it on Tuesday, Rexan. That's exactly what we were talking about. Using these tools that are available to leverage and build the products that you want to build. Think less about the syntax and those sort of lower level things that you need to learn, because they'll all come in context as you start to build things up. All right, I'm conscious of time as well. If we've probably got time for a couple more questions if we have them.
So far, not too many questions. So really is your last 30 seconds before Mr. and Bud and I close it down. Thank you so much. But I want to say, I think the reason we haven't got many questions is because our students were very clear, great messages, and really delivered. Yeah, it's nice to see that we're catching up. I did mention that it's 50-50 over in Kuala Lumpur. We're already achieving our targets.
Yeah, definitely. I think you guys are winning the race there. But before we do wrap up, I do want to mention, if you are thinking about starting a coding club, particularly with Swift, the Apple Education Learning Center does have some fantastic resources available. They have badges and sort of club structures and suggestions that you can play with for both Swift Playgrounds and Xcode. So it's a good place for you to start. If you're thinking about like a student-led coding club, it's a fantastic place to start. But a lot of really what I really want you to take away from this presentation is to try and let your students tell you what they want to do. And less as us as adults saying, this is what you should do, or this is what I enjoy, but I'm in high school, so you'll enjoy it also. Try and find out what they are interested in. Try and find some like-minded people and bring them together.
Yeah, it's amazing how stop motion is a favorite of teachers, but the kids are like, it's gone.
Yeah,
finished. We're not interested in that.
Or even Scratch, right? Like that safety net of Scratch, which we've all loved for a long time. And Christine was saying, let me get on with it. Let me learn something which is going to be useful.
Yeah, I think Scratch is a stepping stone. I also think that some students don't realize there's a lot of power underneath it. And I still use it for resources when I want to. And I think that's it. It is about, what's the right tool for what I actually want to achieve?
Yeah, definitely. So all the resources and a lot of the slides which I've shared today are available within the Padlet. So they will be made available. And as soon as I can get approval for releasing the recording, I'll make that available so that you can all rewatch or share to a wider audience if you'd like. But thanks very much for your time. Thanks for your support across these two sessions. I know it's been 2 in 1 week. It's always great to see the regular faces, Jalpa and Brett Clark, who've supported us along the way. And please let us know if there's any future sessions or things you'd like to share. But thanks very much for our student presenters. Thanks, James, for helping me out in running the WebEx. And have a good night, everybody.
Take care. Good night, everybody. Have a good one.